Here's few thoughts from me about finding light, because at this time of year I find in my practice and in general many people struggling with shorter days, cold, and effectively darkness in different forms. And let's face it, sometimes we can get into situations that feel dark and muddy. Maybe our actions took us down a painful path that is somehow destroying much in its wake, or maybe we happen upon past trauma that surfaces that maybe we've tried to ignore or forget, and it creates a bit of darkness for us. Sometimes darkness can just catch us unawares. Life seems good, and yet we nonetheless all of a sudden find ourselves feeling low in mood and things are hard. In such moments, we often pause and assess and come to some said conclusions, or go, oh dear, how did this happen to me? What often makes the darkness so big is not so much about what's around us. In fact, in my experience, oftentimes we are half blind to the things we think are bad, because in fact, to fully acknowledge that things are not working out for us very well can be very painful. And when we hit that moment, there is a great deal of pain and darkness. But what I also think and have noticed is that much of the darkness comes from having a little trust and hope that we can find a way out of it. And it is negotiating this space that demands that we bring far greater levels of self-compassion, understanding, curiosity, as well as discipline and determination to want to do better, to want to try again. And so a metaphor that I have found quite helpful to explore with clients in this dark space has been one of the winter sunrise. I ask my clients to imagine showing up to watch the winter sunrise, warm and snug in a good warm coat, and maybe even having a thermos with your favorite hot drink to hand, and showing up to watch the miracle of light rising up and illuminating your world, giving the day a fresh, new perspective and richness of possibility. And I'd like to invite you to just notice, what is your experience if you were to imagine yourself in that moment of seeing the sun rise? And now I'd like you, and I ask my clients, to imagine how they would feel if they were in a very cozy warm bed, facing the prospect of maybe going outside to witness and watch a winter sunrise. Would they bother to want to get up and get dressed to have that experience? Or would they simply say that they can do that any day because, well, there's a sunrise every day, and to some degree it can be taken for granted? And I'm going to ask you to contemplate, maybe when was the last time you went out early in the morning to be reminded of the sun coming up and you having another day to give things a go. But then I also would like you to imagine for a moment, and I ask my clients to imagine a third scenario where perhaps they are living on the streets, they're cold, and they can see a sunrise pretty much every day. And then I finally ask you to imagine, the way I ask them to imagine, what it would be like to go out and be watching a winter sunrise without any warm clothes, and find the experience offering a little joy or warmth and much discomfort. The winter sunrise, as you can see, doesn't change, but the context, the way we're prepared to see it, the meaning of it for us will change on these other factors. And so finally, I ask my clients and I ask you to imagine putting yourself back into each of these experiences, but this time not being alone. Maybe having a friend or a loved one who invites you to watch the winter sunrise, maybe brings a warm drink along, offers you the hug or the company or the warmth or the jacket. And again, just realizing, what does the presence of a warm, loving other bring to the winter sunrise? Many of the people, when I do this exercise, when we look at the presence of someone that comes along, often question whether they need the sunrise. And so I leave you with a series of questions, my dear fellow life traveler, that I think might be helpful in helping you contemplate finding light in your darkness or the dark months. Question 1. Are you warm and snug, or are you currently in need of a true shelter? Question 2. How willing and open and curious are you to meet and cherish the miracle of life and every moment? Question 3. What does the sunrise represent for you in this moment? Or what could it represent for you? Question 4. Who is around you to help you find your sunrise? And question 5. When was the last time you inspired someone else to seek the light? Finding light can take so many different forms. Nature is here to remind us with each day that the light does come up and the light sets down. The periods of darkness and light represent a beautiful cycle, a cycle that we can trust and know that even in our darkest moments, light will eventually come up. But having that warm shelter, the warm jacket, the coat, the drink, and most of all, a companion really matters. So I'd like this to be a reminder for you that we're all here as lights for each other. We can be the light for someone, and we can also be an inner light for ourselves. When it's cold and dark outside, what shines is our love and willingness to look for the light in even the darkest of places. I wish you many spectacular sunrises, real and metaphorical, in the next weeks and months. Go gently, my friend, and keep an open heart. and an open mind.